Hi, my name is Jim and I was retired. In this video, I'm going to revisit I-bonds and I'm going to talk about my recent I-bond purchases for 2022, what I think I'm going to earn in the second half of the year of those investments, and I'll start by describing how you can earn free interest with I-bonds. Stay tuned. Imagine this. It's March 30th and you take a $10,000 check to your local bank. You walk up to the teller and you ask to invest in their newest savings account, the one that pays 7.12% interest for the first 6 months. The teller stamps the back of the check and congratulates you on earning your first $55 in interest. That's the first month's interest almost free. I can think of no other bank that would give you a month's worth of interest as long as your deposit is made by the end of the month. Walk into that bank, give them the check on March 30th, and see if they'll pay you a full month's interest. Well, the U.S. Treasury does. Now, most banks use daily compounding on your deposits, but an I-bond earns interest monthly, but it's compounded semi-annually. Every 6 months, the interest accrued is added to the principal for the next 6 months. Now, when I moved $10,000 from other investments to Treasury Direct on March 30th, I bought an I-bond on March 31st. But that bond has an issue date of March 1st. That is a whole month's worth of interest that you get for free. Now, as I said, I've calculated it out to about $55 for the first month's interest, and it's actually $57.67. I built this table using numbers and a simple future value formula to illustrate. For the first full year, if the rate stayed at that 7.12%, then I would earn about $724 in interest. Because it's compounded semi-annually, you actually earn a little less than it would earn if it were monthly compounding or daily compounding, as shown in these next two columns. But pay attention to those last two columns on the right. What I've done is I've calculated the difference between the semi-annual compounding, but giving me credit for the whole 31 days, versus what a daily compounding would do for one. If you could find a bank that would pay you 7.12% on a savings account, you'd earn about $1.95 in interest. Well, as I said, I've earned about $55 more than that, according to these calculations. My wife and I bought in March rather than waiting for May 1st because I did a little calculation of what I expect the second half of these I-bonds to earn. Now, I won't know for sure what that rate is until May 1st, when the U.S. Treasury announces what the new composite rate for your I-bond is. If you recall from my prior I-bond video, the I-bond is a composite rate that includes a fixed rate, currently 0, and an inflation rate, currently 7.12%. Now, I really don't know what the interest rate will be yet, but because I know the formula, I can make an educated guess. Now, I built this spreadsheet to track the numbers off of the Consumer Price Index from September through March. Now, we have readings through February. We won't get that March reading until April 12th. That's next Tuesday. But based on the numbers that we've seen to date, I'm predicting that March number is going to be around 286. Now the index number is the hypothetical shopping cart that's priced each month for an urban worker. And the number is not a really dollar value, but it's the index number. And 286 on this chart would equal about 8.29% if these calculations are correct. My last video on I-bonds went into detail on the actual formula for an I-bond interest rate. So I won't duplicate that completely here, but it is a composite rate made up of that fixed rate plus the inflation factor. And the inflation factor for May 1 will be based on the difference between the CPI index number in September and the index number in March. And if it comes in at 286, then we are currently looking at about an 8.29% interest, the compounded rate. That'll be a 4.15% inflation factor that fits into the formula that would yield the 8.29%. Now, if March came in flat with February, that is 0% interest for the month of March, which is highly unlikely. But that's like worst case scenario now. We would still come in at a composite rate of 7.02%, a little less than the 7.12 that the bond currently yields. If the March increase is at the same pace as February's, about 0.8% for the month, then we're looking at a composite rate of 8.5% when it sets in May 1. So either way, whether it's 7 or 8, I know I have 12 months of interest on these I-bond investments that are going to be pretty significant. If the rate is going to be over 8%, you could say, why not wait till May? Well, locking in a purchase in March in my case, and April if you run out and get one now, you will be locking in the 7.12% for the first 6 months, and then a 7 to 8% pretty much guaranteed for the second 6 months. That's a year of certainty on your investment in an I-bond. If you wait till May, sure, you will get a slightly higher rate for that first 6 months, but I have less surety about what that rate will be starting November 1st. The other thing that I covered in my first video about I-bonds is that I-bonds, when you purchase them, they earn the new rate based on the month when you purchased them. So for the March 1st bond that I purchased on March 31st, it will get its new rate starting September 1st. And March 1st and September 1st will be the two 6-month anniversaries that will set new rates for that bond. The 7.12% will take me through the summer, and then September 1st, I'll start earning that new rate that's announced on May 1st. And likewise, so the bond that you buy in May would get its new rate in November 1st. And again, I have a lot less surety about what that will be. But in my case, the May 1 number will kick in till September. And then the November rate, whatever it is, won't begin until March 1st, 2023. And a lot can happen in 1 year. Now, some have asked about the fixed rate. It's currently 0. What if I waited till May 1st to see if they up that at least a fraction of a percentage point? Recently, as a year and a half ago, it was a fraction of a percentage point. It could be better than 0, right? Is that an incentive to wait? I don't think so. I'm going to put a link below to an article I read that tracked the correlation between Treasury yields, real Treasury yields that's adjusted for inflation, and the fixed rate. With Treasury yields now negative, I don't think we're going to see a fixed rate above 0 anytime soon. It is conceivable that the Treasury will announce a fixed rate a little above 0 in the November 1st number, That's potentially possible if inflation gets tamed and yields go up and they have to adjust the fixed rate. If they do, then I'll be ready to buy my I bonds in 2023. For now, I don't think you can ignore the 7 to 8% an I bond will yield. And if you lock in before May 1st with the current 7.12%, then you are guaranteed for about 12 months of solid interest earnings. The other advantage in this move for us is it moved interest from a taxable CD, we paid interest every year on it, to something that will be taxable but deferred. You won't have to pay the tax on an I bond until you redeem it. I'll conclude with my standard warning. I am not a financial planner. I have no initials after my name. So take these as entertaining ideas from one educated consumer to another. Always do your own due diligence and seek out a professional if you need one. Hey, and be sure to like and subscribe to this video. The more subscriptions that it gets, the higher it will be up in the search results. I'm getting closer to 1,000 subscribers. I'd love to reach it sometime soon. Hit that button. Thank you.